Hi there, and welcome to the Alberta Update. A look at what's happening in your province. Thank you for joining us today. I am your host, Bruce McAllister. Coming up on the program, the Premier is going to pop by. We will chat with the Premier about the latest announcement here in Alberta and some of the big news coming out of the province. We've also got Minister Todd Loewen coming by to talk about the wildfire situation in the province, and Minister Adriana LaGrange will be here. We'll discuss a milestone announcement for primary care and what it means to you and your family. All that and much more straight ahead on the Alberta Update. Well, hydrogen offers the potential to reshape global energy markets and spur trillions in economic growth. Alberta's government is positioning our province as the leading hydrogen capital in Canada. Premier Danielle Smith joining us now with more on what Alberta is up to on that front. First of all, we say good day. Hi, Premier. Good to see you.
Hi, Bruce.
Hey, listen, you've been touting hydrogen for a long time. Anybody that listens to your speeches knows that. You must be happy with the progress we're making in that area and being on the cutting edge of that technology here in Alberta.
It's really remarkable. I mean, we were very pleased that the president of Poland decided to come to Canada and give a speech at the hydrogen conference this week. And Poland looks at themselves as a real global leader in the hydrogen world. They produce about 1 million tons of hydrogen a year. Well, Alberta already produces 2.5 million tons of hydrogen. Just to put it into perspective about how much of a sort of a head start we have in this province, and why it's become such an incredible hub. Dale Nally was the first to do our hydrogen roadmap. He's been instrumental in creating the hydrogen hub here in the Edmonton industrial area region, and we're seeing Edmonton International Airport have a strategy for how they want to accelerate the use of hydrogen vehicles, hydrogen fueling station. The first one opened up in Nisku a couple of weeks ago, as well as hydrogen long-haul vehicles. And every time you have one of these major conferences, new ideas come to the surface. And I can tell you, we went from having about 4,000 delegates at this conference a couple of years ago to 8,000 delegates this time around, and growing. It's becoming the center for people to come share ideas. And I just can't wait to see what comes out of that collaboration.
It's another reason for people to come to Alberta, which leads me into my next question. You know, we read so many reports every week. I actually laugh as I say that, thinking that I read a lot compared to what I know you do. So you'll know what I'm going to ask you about, even though I can't reference where it came from. I read a report that 90% of the private sector jobs that were created in the country were here in Alberta. That is just outstanding, remarkable, really.
It absolutely is. And it stands to reason. I mean, when you look at what we have seen in the last year, there were over 200,000 people who came to Alberta last year, some of the biggest numbers that we've seen in our history of growth. And part of that is the value proposition we have. Not only is it a far more affordable place to live than some of the bigger markets where kids look at wanting to own a home and look at it as impossible in places like Vancouver and Toronto. Well, it's possible here. We also have a very low tax environment, and we have an incredibly diversified economy, not just oil and gas, but all of the new green technologies that we were just talking about, as well as the film industry, as well as the aerospace industry, as well as fantastic jobs in agriculture and agri-food. I think that's part of the reason why people are coming here. They're looking for opportunity, and we're one of the best places in the country to offer that. So I wasn't too surprised that most of the jobs that we've been creating are private sector jobs, but it's nice to see that validation that what we're doing is working. We want a vibrant, robust, free enterprise system creating well-paying jobs so that we can attract more people to this province.
I should mention, Premier, we've got Health Minister Adriana LaGrange on in a few minutes to discuss this more in detail, but I want to ask you about the announcement this week, some big changes coming to primary care. Nurse practitioners are going to be able to be, I guess, part of the solution. That is the hope. Could you tell us more about what was announced and what it will mean for Albertans?
You know, it's funny, when I first heard the term nurse practitioner was probably 6 or 7 years ago. And I was on the air and I had to get someone to explain to me that a nurse practitioner was very different than a licensed practical nurse. And so I just want to make sure that people know that we've got licensed practical nurses, we've got RNs, and we have nurse practitioners that are a very highly trained nurse. They have extra level of education and they're able to do about 80% of the work that a primary care doctor does. And so they've been working in our system already, integrated into primary care networks, working in doctors' offices, and it just didn't seem fair. If they have all of that education and all of that capability and they want to have their own private practices, why wouldn't we allow them to do that? So Minister LaGrange has been working very hard on that for the last number of months, and we're pleased to have announced that we've come to an agreement today about what that would look like. So they'll be able to start their own practices, they'll be able to join an existing practice, they'll be able to get paid by us directly, and they'll be able we'll be able to continue attracting more nurse practitioners from, I think, all over the country to be able to enjoy this new model. It sounds like we are miles ahead of anyone else in what we're offering here. And I can't wait to see us connect more patients with a family practitioner, whether it's a doctor or whether it's a nurse practitioner.
You bet. Looking forward to chatting with the minister in just a few minutes more about it. One more question before I let you go. The federal environment minister announced another whopper this week, a plastics registry for the country. Your thoughts on this, and how does it help move us forward?
It doesn't help move us forward. This is the thing I would say. We don't want to eliminate oil and gas production. We want to reduce oil and gas emissions. We don't want to eliminate plastics. We want to reduce plastics pollution. I mean, one of the things I'd say about plastics is that they have done so much to make sure that we have got safe food, and we've got food that isn't going to a landfill because we're able to protect it in food safe containers that are often made of plastic. We've got a medical profession that is able to provide sanitary conditions, mostly because of the materials that they use that are made of plastic. We have been able to save tortoises because we no longer need to use tortoise shell to create jewelry. We don't use whale bone to create whalebone corsets or fishing rods. We don't use elephant tusks to create ivory for pianos or billiard balls. How did that happen? It happened because plastics are able to create an alternative to things that you would otherwise go to nature. So we're able to make sure that we're enhancing biodiversity. We're not putting different animals under pressure. And we're also able to provide a better quality of life for people. So I don't think that the plastics industry should be apologizing for making our lives better. Yes, we need to do more to collect the waste and recycle it, either with mechanical means so it can be turned into other products, or through chemical means so it can be brought back to a liquid form so that it can be reconstituted into something else. But that is where the minister should be going. He should be working with us on that, as opposed to thinking that, I mean, his solution to everything is shut it down. Well, that's not good for the economy. It's not good for job creation. It's not good for the collection of tax revenue. And heavens knows the federal government is in a pretty desperate financial situation. So every time Minister Guilbeault opens his mouth, I know he's going to say something that is ridiculous and unconstitutional. And he did exactly the same again this week.
Well, it wouldn't be a typical week if he didn't. Another head scratcher from Ottawa. Premier, thank you. As always, appreciate the time.
Thanks, Bruce.
Well, Alberta's government is cracking down on cities that have tied access fees to variable utility rates. This change is being made after the city of Calgary collected hundreds of millions of dollars in surplus cash from residents because of how the city applies their municipal access fees. Minister of Affordability and Utilities, that is Nathan Neudorf, is introducing changes to utilities legislation to protect Albertans from being taken advantage of.
In addition to prohibiting the use of variable rates to calculate local access fees to utilities, Affordability Statutes Amendment Act would prevent municipalities from attempting to take advantage of Alberta ratepayers in the future. It would grant the Alberta Utilities Commission stronger regulatory oversight on how these municipal fees are calculated and applied, ensuring Alberta ratepayers' best interests are protected by an independent regulator. Addressing high, unpredictable fees on utility bills is an important step in making life more affordable for all Albertans.
If passed, this new legislation will come into effect on January 1st of next year. Well, wildfire season has begun in Alberta after last year's unprecedented wildfire season and the dry conditions across the province this year. Alberta's government is ready to deal with what is expected to be another very active year for fire. Minister of Forestry and Parks, that is Todd Lowen, joining us now with more on the situation here in Alberta. Minister, I know how busy you've been. Thank you for taking some time.
No problem. Thanks for having me here.
Let's start with an update. I'm sure everybody watching is wondering where it's going, and we should point out that obviously we air this program on Thursday, so some people might watch it Friday or Saturday, and things will change by then. We'll get to that, but as of right now, what do Albertans need to know?
Well, right now we have 59 active wildfires on the landscape. There's none of them that are that are out of control. We have some that are being held and some classed as under control. And I think what's maybe most important to talk about is so far this year, we've extinguished 214 fires. So that's a huge number for this time of the year to have extinguished. We've had a lot of new starts, but we had some holdover fires from last year, and we've extinguished over half of the ones from last year. And again, from this year, I think we've had about 217 new starts, and we've extinguished 182 of them. So again, there's a lot of good work being done. It's been a very busy season so far, but again, we got things under control, and things are looking good moving into the future here.
Well, the first thing I want to do when I hear that, and I'm sure that you do as well, and I've heard you say it in press conferences, is you want to tip the cap to the firefighters and the emergency services personnel that are putting those out for us. Hey, listen, we're bringing on more firefighters this year, I would assume, after last year. Can you speak to that? And hopefully we're as prepared as we can be.
Yeah, you know what? One thing that a lot of people say, "Are you prepared?" It's like, yes, we're prepared, but that doesn't mean there isn't going to be fires. We're still going to have fires. We've seen them on the landscape already. There'll be more fires throughout the rest of the season. There's no doubt about that. But as you mentioned, we're bringing on more firefighters this year than we had last year. Probably the tune of about 140 more. 100 wildland firefighters, and then 40 contract wildfires, fire tech firefighters that are through our First Nation partners in wildfire fighting. And so we're bringing on more crews. We've increased the budget to wildfire up front to make sure that we could do those hires, but also work on bringing on more air tankers, increased night vision helicopters, and to be able to fight fire a lot more at night, which is going to be one of the biggest changes that we're doing this year compared to other years.
I think Albertans might be surprised to hear what's causing the majority of these fires. Do you want to elaborate on that some?
Yeah, so any given year, about 2/3 of the fires are human caused, and but this year, since at this part of the season, we haven't had too much lightning activity so far. So virtually all the fires that we've had so far this year are human caused, and so that's of course a great concern to us because those are preventable fires, and we just want to make sure people are aware how much damage they can do by being out on the landscape and not being careful with how they manage their fires.
Very good point. And so I'm glad we addressed it. I will ask you about one more. Over the last 24 hours or so, I know firefighters were responding to one in the MD of Peace River. And some of that was complicated by the municipality having to get involved. Can you update us on that and what we need to know about that situation?
Yeah, so that one is now being held. So that was a fire that was basically out of control for I'm guessing about 36 hours. So we brought that under control very quickly. The municipal firefighters were on it right at the start. We came in almost immediately too because the municipality realized that they could use that extra help, and we were able to put crews on there on a 24-hour basis. So we were fighting that fire all night long, and that really made a difference because when you get into the nighttime, a lot of times the fires subdue, and because of the temperature drop and the humidity rising. And that gives us a greater opportunity to make a difference when we're fighting fires. And again, being able to fight fire at night has made a big difference so far.
Any advice, Minister, before we let you go? If you're watching and you're thinking, what do I need to know? How do I get the latest information? Anything to update people on?
Yeah, so I think one of the most critical things people can do is download the Wildfire app. And it's a free app that you can get on any phone. and it has all the information on the fires that are burning in the province right now, where they're at, what stage they're at. But it also gives you idea of what the restrictions and bans are in each different area of the province. An extremely helpful app that I believe every Albertan should have downloaded. And I guess in addition to that, just to encourage everybody to be careful when they're out in the forested areas. Make sure that they're, right now we have restrictions and bans across the province in a lot of areas, and people can use that app to find out where the restrictions are and the bans are, and to make sure that they're not a cause of any of these wildfires. We've started a campaign, and it's basically the phrase is, don't be that person. So don't be that person that throws a cigarette out the window. Don't be that person that leaves a campfire unattended or not completely out. Don't be that person that starts a major wildfire that our wildfire personnel have to endanger their lives to put out, and it also endangers communities, those fires.
I know how busy you are and your staff, everybody obviously working to put these out. Let's hope for some rain, some cooperation from Mother Nature, and Minister, as always, thanks for taking some time.
No, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, there's Minister Todd Loewen joining us. Well, the largest water sharing agreement in Alberta's 118-year history now in place to help respond to the risk of severe drought. 38 of the largest and oldest water licenses in southern Alberta have voluntarily agreed to reduce the water they use if severe drought conditions develop this spring or summer.
I'm here today with our chief scientist here in the province of Alberta, Dr. Jonathan Thompson. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you, Minister.
Now, we're here to talk a little bit about a $500,000 investment into the University of Lethbridge right now to do some research for us. Can you tell us a little bit about the importance of this partnership and the research that will come out of it?
Absolutely. So this is a really exciting partnership, in this case with the University of Lethbridge, but we have multiple university grants supporting information needs for our environmental monitoring and science program in the province, all part of our Enhancing Environmental Science in Alberta grant.
Now, given the situation that we find ourselves in, of course, we've been talking a lot about the potential for a drought situation, especially in southern Alberta. Can you just tell me a little bit about one of the projects I know that will help us specifically understand our situation a little bit better in southern Alberta and why that will be a benefit to us?
Absolutely. So one of our projects is actually looking at lake water storage in our natural lake systems throughout the province. And it's using a combination of both remote sensing and field-based assessments to get a better understanding, which will help us enhance some of our water management strategies in the province, particularly in face of drought.
Now, we've also been talking a little bit about the importance of supporting wetlands and also looking at natural carbon sequestration. Talk a little bit about those specific projects.
We're fortunate to actually have 3 projects that are looking at carbon sequestration potential of wetland systems, including things as diverse as prairie pothole wetlands all the way to peatland systems as well.
Now, I think one of the most exciting parts of this is that it really is a true partnership. So, how did this partnership come about and why is it so important?
So this partnership is, again, one of our multiple partnerships with post-secondary institutions in the province. This one focused specifically on southern Alberta. Again, it's part of our ongoing efforts to enhance the environmental science and monitoring program that EPA supports.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Thompson, and thanks for the work that you're doing on behalf of Albertans every single day.
Thank you.
Work to improve access to primary care took a big step forward this week. Nurse practitioners now being able to offer primary care services to Albertans. We talked about this with the Premier a few minutes ago. Joining us now to talk more about it is our Health Minister, Adriana LaGrange. I know you have been busy, Minister. Thank you for taking a few minutes to talk to us.
My pleasure.
Let's talk about the announcement this week. Of course, you made the big announcement with the primary care program. How will it increase access to primary care for Albertans? I guess if I'm watching, I want to know, how does this help my family and I?
Well, how nurse practitioners help is, as the Premier had indicated, they provide a lot of really what would I say, very comprehensive care. They're very much like a family physician or a rural generalist who can follow a patient from cradle to grave. They are able to do pretty well everything that a physician can do, except for provide surgery and a few other things that they typically would do in a hospital, that a physician would do in a hospital. So they are currently, there are some nurse practitioners that right now are doing this work. Others are working in hospitals or specializing in oncology, those type of things. These are highly skilled individuals who have spent a long time uh, honing their skill, but also making sure that they have the experience, the practical experience. And so the way they can help the system is that now they will be able to take on their own panel of patients. Previously, they would have to provide this service under a salaried type position with a primary care network or some other funding source. But now they are able to work independently, autonomously. They can set up their own clinic, or they can work in conjunction with doctors, other doctors or other nurse practitioners, and set up clinics autonomously.
How does the application process work for your nurse practitioner? I mean, how soon will we see the benefits of this?
Well, they can actually start today. They can contact our department and put forward an expression of interest through our department or through the Association of Nurse Practitioners, and then they have to go through an application process, which would take roughly about 4 to 6 weeks. After that, if they qualify, because there are qualifications that they have to meet, then they should be able to start up their clinic right away. And of course, we will be making sure that we can help them through that process. We've also allocated $2 million to the Nurse Practitioners Association to help their members through the process as well. We want to make sure that these clinics are successful. And if I can put it into perspective, a minimum clinic or a minimum panel for a nurse practitioner is going to be 900 patients. And so if we anticipate right off the bat that there's roughly about 50 nurse practitioners that are willing and wanting to start their own practice, and that could mean up to 45,000 or more Albertans that would have access to primary care. Right now in the province, we have roughly about 600,000 to 700,000 people that do not have access to a primary care provider, whether that's a doctor or whether that's a nurse practitioner. So we want to make sure that everyone has access to primary care.
100%. That is the biggest point. So glad you emphasized it. Listen, on that note, you announced last week a new family medicine and rural generalist physician compensation model. Can you explain to us how this new compensation model works for family physicians in Alberta? How will it improve primary healthcare or access to primary healthcare?
Well, and as I said, we have so many people in Alberta that don't have a family doctor or don't have access to primary care. So once again, we've worked really hard with the Alberta Medical Association. Their president, Dr. Paul Parks, myself have met numerous times. Our departments met numerous times. While we knew that there were some issues, particularly with the inflationary costs that our family physicians are seeing with their clinics, we wanted to make sure that we provided stabilization funding. So we did provide funding to stabilize well over $200 million plus an additional $57 million for panel management. But we knew more had to be done. And what we were hearing over and over again from the Alberta Medical Association and from family doctors and rural generalists is that the current funding model was not working for them. And it's a fee-for-service model. So what we really worked through after numerous engagements, as I said, lots of hard work happening behind the scenes, we were able to come to a funding framework that allows for doctors to have that longitudinal, comprehensive family medicine type service that they want to provide so that they also will be able to follow patients from cradle to grave. And so right now we have the framework, and we know that the next steps are now to send that to the management committee. And the management committee is like the largest body within the agreement between Alberta Health and the Alberta Medical Association. So they're going to look at setting the rates for this new funding model. And that should come back to me within the next 30 days or so once that committee is looking at this as well. Then we have to go through to make sure that we've got all the legislation right, et cetera. But we're really anxious to make sure we get this right as quickly as possible. And we anticipate hopefully in the fall that everything will be up and running for that new funding model for family physicians and rural generalists.
Well, you have a load on your plate, to say the very least.
Busy.
Minister,
It's very busy.
Yeah, appreciate the work you do, and thanks for joining us as always.
My pleasure.
In spring of 2023, Alberta's government introduced the Agri-Processing Investment Tax Credit to support our province's diversification and economic growth. To be considered for that tax credit program, corporations must invest at least $10 million to build or expand an agri-processing facility in Alberta. This tax credit is helping attract large-scale investments, and that includes Imperial's $720 million project to build the largest renewable diesel facility in Canada.
When the facility is fully operational, it will transform canola and other seed oils into renewable diesel that is lower in emissions than conventional fuels. To make this happen, Imperial will be sourcing most of its feedstock from canola producers right here in the province. With incentives like the Ag Tax Credit, our government is continuing to support Alberta producers and keep our province at the forefront of innovation. And I think this is such an incredible story, bringing agriculture and energy together.
As Alberta's economy experiences rapid growth and diversification, some industries and job creators are facing labor shortages in high demand fields. To fill gaps in the workforce and create opportunities in rewarding careers, Alberta's government is pursuing more channels to train students entering the skilled trades. Advanced Education Minister Rajan Sawhney now with more on that.
With Alberta's economy booming these days, we are seeing an unprecedented demand for skilled workers. And I know there are a lot of employers here who will agree we just don't have enough people. Unions know this very well. The Bud Coote Centre is one of the 10 union facilities in Alberta delivering apprenticeship equivalent training. This union-delivered training adds great value to our province's apprenticeship system and to our economy. I'm pleased to announce that Alberta's government is investing $350,000 in a pilot program to support the International Union of Operating Engineers Local 955 Trust Fund to deliver training for the Crane and Hoisting Equipment Operator Mobile Crane Operator Apprenticeship Program here at the Bud Coote Apprenticeship and Education Centre. Advanced Education is pleased to provide this funding so that the IUOE's history of instruction, combined with its wealth of infrastructure and equipment, can help create more training spaces for a trade that is in such high demand. Alberta is committed to ensuring that we have the workers we need to fulfill our potential and build our province's economic future.
And from something a little bit lighter this week, the list of Alberta's top baby names of 2023 is out. Here is the cute factor for you. When it comes to names, Olivia maintains a record-setting streak as the most popular girl's name in Alberta for the 11th year in a row, followed by Amelia and Sophia. Noah remains the top pick for boys' names for a 5th consecutive year, followed by Liam and Oliver. So congratulations to the parents of the more than 47,000 kids who were born last year right here in Alberta. And that does it for this episode of the Alberta Update, a look at what your government is up to. Thank you for joining us as always, and we will bring you these updates every week when the legislature is sitting. We take a break next week. I believe it's constituency week, and we'll be back the following week. And remember to subscribe to the Alberta Update on YouTube and share it with your friends and family. We certainly appreciate you watching, and thank you for being with us this week. We will see you again next time.